Welcome back to Z Coins. Today, we are diving deep into the world of Lincoln Wheat pennies and revealing the top 5 most valuable ones you can still find or collect, coins that are literally worth thousands, and in some cases, even millions of dollars. We are diving deep into the world of one of the most iconic and widely collected coins in American numismatic history. We are talking about the 1941 Lincoln Wheat penny. You might think it's just another old penny. But what if I told you that this humble 1-cent coin could actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars in the right condition? Stick around as we uncover its origin, its value, rare variations, and what makes it such a prized collectible in the market today. Let us start with a little background. The Lincoln Wheat penny was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first United States coin to feature a real person's face. On the front of the coin, or obverse, you will find a profile portrait of President Lincoln. On the reverse side, you will see two stylized stalks of wheat curving inward from the edges, a design that gave the coin its nickname, the Wheat Penny. Now let us fast forward to the year 1941. The world was on the brink of global conflict. World War II was already raging in Europe, and America was just months away from entering the war following the attack on Pearl Harbor in December of that year. In the midst of all this, the United States Mint continued producing coins for everyday commerce. Among them, the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny.in. That year, the penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint mark has its own story and value, so let us break it down. First, we have the Philadelphia Mint. Coins produced here bear no mint mark. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 887 million pennies in 1941. That makes this version quite common in circulated condition. However, collectors seek them in uncirculated and high-grade condition, especially with strong luster and sharp details. In circulated grades, a Philadelphia 1941 penny is typically worth 1 to 3 cents. But in uncirculated condition, it can fetch anywhere from $5 to $20. A flawless example graded MS-67 red by a professional grading service could bring in more than $100 at auction. Next is the Denver Mint. Coins from Denver are marked with a small d under the date. In 1941, the Denver Mint produced approximately 128 million Lincoln Wheat pennies. Slightly less common than the Philadelphia version, but still not considered rare in general. In circulated condition, these coins are typically worth a few cents. But again, the condition changes everything. Uncirculated Denver coins in high mint state grades, such as MS-65 or better, especially in red coloration, can be worth between $15 and $100 depending on eye appeal and certification. Lastly, we have the San Francisco Mint. Look for the small s under the date. The San Francisco Mint produced around 92 million pennies that year. While lower in mintage compared to the other two, it is still a relatively common coin. Circulated San Francisco Wheat pennies from 1941 typically range from 5 to 10 cents. But mint state examples in red can command between $20 and $200 or more. The highest known examples have reached auction prices well above that, particularly if the coin is full red, meaning it retains all of its original copper luster. Now, let us talk about the different color classifications used by coin grading services. You will often hear the terms brown, and red. This refers to the coloration of the coin based on how much of the original copper luster remains. A brown coin has lost most of its red color due to oxidation. A red-brown coin is partially lustrous with about 30 to 70% red remaining. A red coin is nearly full original mint red and is the most desirable and valuable for collectors. So, when you hear that an MS-66 red 1941 penny sold for over $200, it is because of this vibrant original color combined with a nearly perfect surface, but that is not all. There are some rare errors and varieties that can make a 1941 penny worth even more. One example is the double die obverse. This is a coin that has visible doubling on the date or lettering due to a misalignment during the striking process. If you find a 1941 penny with noticeable doubling on the motto or date, you could be holding a very valuable error coin. These can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition and visibility of the error. Other collectible varieties include off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched mint marks, and lamination errors. These are much rarer and are usually spotted by experienced collectors or professional graders. Always check your coin carefully under magnification if you think it might have an error. So, what about the market today? As of the latest reports, the demand for high-quality 1941 Lincoln wheat pennies remains strong. Collectors continue to pay top dollar for coins in pristine condition. Certified examples graded by PCGS or NGC in MS66 or MS67 with full red color are consistently reaching prices from $100 to over $500 depending on eye appeal and rarity. Lower grade but still uncirculated examples in the MS60 to MS63 range sell for between $10 and $50. That if you are thinking about selling your 1941 penny, the best way to maximize value is to get it professionally graded. It provides authentication, helps buyers trust your coin, and allows you to participate in larger auction houses or online marketplaces. Grading fees vary but can be well worth it if your coin is high quality. Today, we're diving deep into the history, value, and current market worth of a coin that might be hiding in plain sight, the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, before we get into the exact dollar values, let's talk about where this coin comes from and why it's special. The Lincoln wheat penny was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of a symbolic figure, and it was designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials VDB were even placed on the reverse of the earliest versions, but that stirred up a bit of controversy and had to be removed shortly after. Still, that's a story for another video. Back to the coin in question, the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny. The D stands for the Denver Mint, which produced over 200 million of these coins in 1942. So yes, it's not exactly rare in terms of mintage. But that doesn't mean it isn't valuable. As with all coins, condition is key, and sometimes rare errors can make a common coin worth thousands of dollars. Let's break down what you need to look for. First, examine the coin's surface. A well-preserved example, especially one that hasn't been circulated much, is called uncirculated or mint state. These coins have sharp details, no wear, and a lot of their original red luster. A mint state 1942 penny can be worth anywhere from $5 to $50 just for being in top condition. But that's only the beginning. The real value kicks in when you start looking at coins graded at MS65 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. MS stands for mint state and goes up to 70, which is perfect. A 1942 Lincoln wheat penny graded MS65 red can fetch upwards of $100 to several $100 depending on the market and demand. Some extremely high-grade specimens have sold for over $1,000 at auction, but there's more. Some 1942 wheat pennies come with errors or varieties that make them even more valuable. Let's talk about a few of those. One of the most sought-after errors is the double die obverse. This happens when the coin's design is accidentally struck twice at a slightly different angle. On the 1942 penny, a double die would show up in the lettering, especially in the word Liberty or in the date itself. These errors can be very subtle, so you might need a magnifying glass or microscope to see them. Another thing to look out for is repunched mint marks. A repunched D mint mark means the Denver mint mark was stamped more than once and didn't align perfectly. These small variations are rare, but collectors love them. If you have a 1942 D with a strong repunched mint mark, especially in mint state condition, it could easily be worth over $100 or $200, and it doesn't stop there. Off-center strikes, die cracks, lamination errors, and even planchet errors can all raise the value of your 1942 wheat penny dramatically. Off-center strikes where the design is noticeably misaligned are rare and collectible. Coins like this could range from $20 all the way up to several hundred depending on how dramatic the error is and how well the coin is preserved. So how do you know if your 1942 penny is worth serious money? First, check its condition. Is it shiny, crisp, and free from wear? That's a good sign. Next, look closely for errors or doubling. Compare the lettering and numbers under magnification to examples you can find online or in coin reference books. If it looks unusual, it might be valuable. Next, consider having your coin graded by a reputable third-party grading company. Yes, it costs money to do this, but it can also dramatically increase the resale value and trust among potential buyers. Graded coins also tend to sell faster and at higher prices. Now let's talk about current market trends. As of mid-2025, the coin market is still hot, and vintage US coins like the Lincoln Wheat series remain in demand. A circulated 1942 penny might sell for a few cents up to $1, depending on condition. An average uncirculated example might be worth $5 to $20. A high-grade MS-65 red example is likely to bring in $100 to $200. Add in a rare error or a high population grade, and you're looking at prices that can push past $1,000. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have seen some impressive sales for 1942 pennies, especially with strong strike, full red color, and rare errors. If you have a top-condition coin with something unusual, it might just be worth sending in for professional grading and considering a sale through one of these venues. Collectors and investors alike value these coins not just for their potential resale value but for the story they carry. Minted during the early years of World War II, these coins were part of everyday life for Americans during a critical time in history. And that adds another layer of historical interest and collectability. So, the bottom line is this. If you have a 1942 Lincoln Wheat penny, don't dismiss it as just another old coin. Take a close look. If it's in pristine condition or shows any signs of rare errors, it could be worth far more than 1 cent. Some people have turned pocket change into hundreds or even thousands of dollars just by spotting the right coin. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1954 Lincoln Wheat penny. This is not just any old coin. It's a piece of American history that could be worth a surprising amount of money today, depending on its condition, rarity, and a few other key factors. So stay tuned, because you might just find out that a penny in your drawer is worth way more than 1 cent. Let's start with a bit of background. The Lincoln Wheat penny was introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, and it became the first regular-issue United States coin to feature the face of a real person. The design by Victor David Brenner features a right-facing portrait of President Lincoln on the front, or obverse, and 2 stalks of wheat on the back, also known as the reverse. Hence the name, the Lincoln Wheat penny. Now let's fast forward to the year 1954. Dwight D. Eisenhower was president, Elvis Presley was on the radio, and the United States Mint was busy striking coins for everyday use. The Denver Mint, located in Colorado, produced over 250 million Lincoln Wheat pennies that year. That's right. More than 250 million. That's a huge number, so you might be wondering, how can such a common coin be worth anything? Well, it all comes down to condition, rarity, and demand. While most 1954 pennies are only worth a few cents to a couple of dollars in circulated condition, there are some exceptions. Coins that were struck sharply with no visible wear, known as mint state coins, can be quite valuable. Especially if they have a high grade from a professional grading service. Coins are typically graded on a 70-point scale, with MS-60 to MS-70 being considered mint state. The higher the number, the better the condition, and the higher the price collectors are willing to pay. So how much can a 1954 Lincoln Wheat penny be worth today? Well, let's break it down. In average circulated condition, this coin is worth around 5 to 15 cents. Not too exciting, right? But wait. In higher grades, the value starts to climb. A 1954 penny in about uncirculated condition might bring in $1 to $2. Now we're getting somewhere. Now here's where things get interesting. If you have a 1954 penny in mint state condition, let's say graded MS-63, you could be looking at a coin worth around $5 to $10. And it gets better. An MS-65 example can go for $20 to $30. In MS-66 or better, the price can jump to $50 or more. And if you are one of the very few lucky collectors who has an MS-67 example, you could be looking at a coin worth over $200. That's right. Over $200 for a single penny, but it doesn't stop there. There are even auction records where high-grade examples of the 1954 D penny have sold for over $1,000, depending on eye appeal, color, and sharpness of strike. That's why collectors are always on the hunt for coins in pristine condition. There are also certain errors and varieties that can make a 1954 D penny even more valuable. For example, coins with doubling on the date or mint mark, also known as double dies, are highly sought after. Other errors like off-center strikes, die cracks, or repunched mint marks can also increase a coin's value dramatically. If you think you have an error coin, it's a good idea to have it evaluated by a professional. So how can you tell if your 1954 D wheat penny is worth big money? First, look at the mint mark. The small d under the date tells you it was struck at the Denver Mint. Then, examine the coin's condition carefully. Is it clean, free of scratches, and does it still have that red copper luster? If so, it might be worth getting it graded. You can send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC to get an official grade and authenticity. You might also want to compare your coin with online price guides, auction results, and recently sold listings on platforms like eBay or Heritage Auctions. That can give you a good idea of what collectors are currently paying in the market. Keep in mind that coin values can fluctuate based on collector interest, metal prices, and the economy. So to sum it all up, the 1954 D Lincoln wheat penny may seem common at first glance. And for the most part, it is. But in the right condition or with the right error, it can be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. It's a perfect example of how numismatics, the hobby of coin collecting, combines history, art, and economics into something truly fascinating. Today we are taking a deep dive into the history, details, and current market value of one of the most discussed mid-century pennies ever struck by the United States Mint. That's the 1955 D Lincoln wheat penny. Now before we get into the numbers and values, let's rewind the clock back to 1955. Dwight D. Eisenhower was president. Rock and roll was rising with Elvis Presley's early hits. Gas cost about 23 cents per gallon. And the Denver Mint was churning out billions of coins to fuel the post-war economy. Among them was the 1955 D Lincoln wheat cent. The D stands for Denver, one of 3 mints operating at the time along with Philadelphia and San Francisco. The Denver Mint produced a whopping total of over 563 million wheat pennies that year. That's right, more than 500 million. So yes, the 1955 D penny is not rare by mintage numbers alone. But not all coins are created equal. The wheat penny itself was designed by Victor David Brenner and first released in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. It was the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real person. On the obverse side is the familiar bust of Lincoln facing right with the motto "In God We Trust" above his head. To the left is the word liberty and to the right the date 1955 with the D mint mark just below the year. Now flip the coin over and you'll find the reverse showing 2 wheat stalks curling in from the sides and the words 1 cent in the center, with United States of America just below and E pluribus unum above. That reverse design would remain in use until 1958 when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial. Now let's talk about what makes this particular penny special. While the 1955 D penny does not have the famous double die error like the 1955 Philadelphia penny, which we'll cover in another video, it still holds significant interest among collectors for its condition and certain varieties. High-grade examples of the 1955 D penny can be worth far more than face value. If your coin is worn and in circulated condition, it might fetch only a few cents up to $1. But when we start looking at uncirculated examples, those that have never been used in daily transactions, the value increases dramatically. Let's talk grading for a moment. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with 1 being barely recognizable and 70 being a perfect flawless specimen. Most circulated 1955 D pennies grade somewhere between 20 and 40. But if your penny is in mint state 60 or higher, that's when collectors start paying attention. For example, a mint state 65 red coin, that means a coin with full original red color and no oxidation, can sell for $20 to $30. A mint state 66 red example might go for $75 to $100. Now if you're lucky enough to have a Mint State 67 red graded by PCGS or NGC, you could be looking at a value of over $250. And believe it or not, in some rare cases with perfect strikes and almost flawless surfaces, the 1955 D penny has sold for more than $1,000 at auction, but there's more. Variety and error collectors might want to look closely at their coins. While the 1955 D does not have the dramatic double die obverse like its Philadelphia cousin, it does feature some minor errors that can add value. These include repunched mint marks, where the D mint mark was punched more than once in slightly different positions, and die cracks, which appear as raised lines on the coin's surface. There are also struck-through errors where foreign materials like cloth or grease interfere with the coin strike. These errors are much less common but can command premiums if they are dramatic and clearly visible. Now, let's fast forward to today. As of 2025, the coin collecting market remains strong. Demand for wheat pennies is high, especially for those in pristine condition. Online marketplaces like eBay and dedicated auction houses report regular sales of 1955 D coins ranging from $5 for average uncirculated coins to over $400 for high-grade red specimens. That if you want to know how much your penny is worth, take a close look. Check the luster. Does it have a bright original red shine? Or has it darkened to brown or red-brown over time? The more original color, the more value. Next, examine for scratches, dents, or wear on Lincoln's cheek and jawline. Then, if possible, get your coin graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade adds trust and often increases the selling price. Now here's a quick checklist for identifying a valuable 1955 D penny. 1. Is it uncirculated with full red color? 2. Is it free of major scratches, contact marks, or discoloration? 3. Does it have any visible errors like repunched mint mark or die breaks? 4. Has it been professionally graded and encapsulated? If you can check 2 or more of those boxes, you may have a coin worth much more than a penny. So what should you do if you find a 1955 D penny in your change or in an old coin jar? Take a close look. Compare it to high-resolution images online. You can even visit your local coin shop for a free evaluation. Or consider sending it to a grading service if it looks promising. Now before we wrap up, here are some final tips. Always handle coins by the edge, never the surface. Keep them in a dry and cool place, preferably in a plastic coin holder or flip. Never try to clean your coins, as that can lower their value significantly. And if you're thinking of selling, research recent auction prices so you know what to expect. In conclusion, the 1955 D Lincoln wheat penny may not be the rarest coin out there, but in top condition, it is absolutely worth more than face value. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, it's a great example of how history, artistry, and condition all come together to determine the worth of a simple copper cent. Today we're diving deep into one of the most iconic and mysterious coins in American numismatics, the 1958 D Lincoln wheat penny. While it might look like just another old penny to most people, collectors know there's much more beneath the surface. This humble copper coin could be worth a surprising amount of money in the right condition, and today we're going to talk about why. Let's start with the background and history of the Lincoln wheat penny series. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, this penny design replaced the Indian head cent. It was the first regular issue U.S. coin to feature the image of a real person, and the choice of Lincoln was extremely popular with the public. The wheat ears on the reverse symbolized prosperity and were a staple of the design until 1958. That brings us to the final year of the wheat penny, 1958. This was the last year these wheat-backed cents were made before the switch to the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. That alone makes 1958 pennies special to collectors. But within this year, there are 2 main mint marks to be aware of: the Philadelphia Mint, which used no mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which used the letter D. Now focusing specifically on the 1958 D penny. The D stands for Denver, where over 800 million of these coins were minted. That's a massive number, and at first glance, it might seem like they're not rare at all. However, condition and specific varieties are everything in coin collecting. While most of the 1958 pennies you'll find in circulation today are only worth face value or a few cents more, the real value lies in uncirculated and error examples. Let's talk about errors, and more importantly, varieties. You might have heard of the rare 1958 double die penny. While the famous double die is known from the Philadelphia Mint, some rumors and unconfirmed reports have hinted at possible Denver Mint doubling errors as well, though nothing officially verified by major grading companies. That said, collectors still look for anything unusual, doubling, repunched mint marks, and other striking anomalies. So what gives a 1958 Lincoln Wheat penny real value? First, let's look at the condition. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale called the Sheldon scale. A heavily circulated 1958 penny is likely in the grade range of very fine to extremely fine and will fetch between 5 cents and 25 cents. Not a fortune, but more than face value. Now, let's talk about uncirculated examples. A red 1958 penny graded MS65 or higher can bring a significant premium. In MS65 condition, they usually sell for around $5 to $15. In MS66, values can reach $20 to $50. And if you get lucky and find one graded MS67 red, that's when things get really exciting. These can bring $100 or more, depending on the current market demand and auction results, and that's just for regular uncirculated coins. When you factor in special coins with strong eye appeal, toning, or provenance from famous collections, the sky is the limit. Speaking of the market, let's look at recent sales. As of this year, high-grade 1958 wheat pennies have sold at auction for well over $150 when graded MS67 red by major grading services like PCGS or NGC. In rare instances, full red coins with near-perfect strike and luster have crossed the $200 mark. Remember, these are exceptional coins. You won't find them in pocket change. So what should you look for if you come across a 1958 penny? First, check the condition. If it looks shiny and has no visible wear, it might be uncirculated. Second, examine the color. A true red coin, with full mint luster, is more valuable than brown or red-brown tones. Third, look for possible errors or varieties. Examine the D mint mark closely. Use a magnifying glass if needed. Look for signs of doubling or a repunched mint mark, and lastly, consider having it graded. Professional grading can make a huge difference in the value of a coin. A coin in a certified holder from a reputable grading service is far more trusted in the market and can bring higher prices at auction point. One more thing, coin values are influenced by demand. As the collector base for Lincoln cents continues to grow, especially among younger collectors who are drawn to the history and affordability of the series, prices for high-grade wheat pennies have been trending upward. If you have a top-quality 1958 penny, now might be a good time to have it appraised or graded. Let's do a quick summary. The 1958 Lincoln Wheat penny was the last Denver minted wheat reverse penny. Over 800 million were made, so most are common, but condition and rarity matter. In circulated condition, they are worth just a few cents. In uncirculated red condition, they can sell for $10 to $50 or more. And in the best grades, they can exceed $100. Always check for errors or doubling, and consider grading your coin if it appears flawless. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe for more coin collecting tips, values, and numismatic history. Got a 1958 wheat penny in your collection? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. Until next time, happy collecting.